You are evolving as a person all the time. The question is, do you want it to be haphazard, unintentional, or would you rather seize the day, seize control of your life, and evolve with intentionality, consciousness, with an end game in mind?
Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go get that claimed, smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your coach, Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. I hope you all had a great Labor Day, and now that holiday has come and gone, we are now into the fall push, right? End of the year will be here before we know it. So in this episode, what I want to do is I want to unpack a book that I've read 3 times. I've recommended it to all my clients. And from a philosophy standpoint and just kind of a mindset shift, it's probably one of the 2 or 3 books that I've read in the last 10 years that has really, really impacted me. So the book I'm referencing real quick is 10x is easier than 2x. You can see I actually read this thing 3 times just wearing the cover off, right, going through it, by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Now, I'm not going to sit there and give you a book review. It's not what this is about today. What this is about today is, number one, go get the book and read it, or listen to it, or read it and listen to it. But more importantly, why I believe being a financial advisor is the absolute perfect platform to go play a 10x game. And so when we talk about a 10x game, we're not talking about, although it could be, but it's not necessarily taking your income or revenue and times it by 10. And it could or should probably have a financial component to it, but it's not about that, right? The money and the economics are a byproduct of it. The way I would interpret 10x is easier than 2x is identity. I was just interviewed for a podcast that one of my clients does. And he asked me, so Joe, how would you define 10x versus 2x? And I had to think about it for a second. And then I said, basically, here's what I look at it. 2x is getting a little bit better at who you are. 10x is becoming somebody to do great things. So in other words, you can keep some identity, get a little bit better at it. That's 2x. Or you change the shift to elevate your identity, and then all things are possible. And when you start thinking about it, we get this term identity, right? And I hear this a lot. Well, Joe, I am who I am, or you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? And I think that's a bunch of BS, and here's why. All of us have changed. I don't care how long you've been in this game, but go back 5 years, go back 10 years. You're going to tell me that you're the same person you were a half a decade or a decade ago? Well, I'm certainly not. See, evolution in humans
is constantly happening. You are evolving as a person all the time. The question is, do you want it to be haphazard, unintentional, which is what most people do, by the way? Or would you rather seize the day, seize control of your life, and evolve with intentionality, consciousness, with an end game in mind, right? Because here's reality. And again, I don't care if you're 1 year in the business, 1 day in the business, or 40 years in the business. Here's the way it rolls. Whenever you come up with a new goal, a new vision, there are 2 questions you got to ask yourself. There's two I call them primary questions. And then you can flip-flop them, it doesn't matter. Question 1, why do I want this goal? So you say to me, hey, I want to take my business from $2 million to $5 million in the next 5 years. Okay, why do you want it? And you got to have something there that you're willing to walk through fire for. It may be for yourself, it may be for others, it may be a combination of both. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to pass judgment on why you want it. You just have to know why you want it, right? So why do you want it? Next question. Who do you need to become to pull it off? Because to use this example, we know what the $2 million version of you looks like, right? We know your rituals, your mindset, your beliefs, your behaviors, how you lead, all those things, right? We know the 2 million version of you. The $2 million version of you is not going to get the $5 million game done. It won't. It just won't. And this is where I think humans, drop the word advisor for a minute. Let's talk about humans, right? Humans will go after a goal and they will use motivation. They will use willpower. Sometimes they'll use suffering and they'll attack it and they'll get temporary gains. Why? Because they never clearly defined who they need to become to achieve it. It just happened. So when you're going after something, when you're going after a goal, you got, okay, who do I need to become? So let's give some examples, some context here perhaps. So, hey, I want to go build a $5 million. I want to go from $2 million to $5 million. Great. What do you need to become to pull it off? I need to become more disciplined. Okay, great. Nice theme. How specifically? I need to get up earlier. Okay, great. How specifically? I need to be up by 5:15. Okay, great. What else about discipline? And you get into this. I need to work out in the morning. I need to do my morning ritual. What else you need? I need to be a better leader. Okay, what does that mean? Right? Right? And you start coming up with basically, now we're list building to list build, but you start coming up with a framework of identity. And once you get clear on who you need to become, you just move towards it. You start taking steps. You start behaving as if. Because the man or woman has got to assume the identity first. Then the business produces results. Let me re-say that. The man or woman must assume the identity first. Then, and only then, does the business produce results you want. And what most human beings do, /advisors, is they get caught up in the doing game. I hear it all the time. I'll talk to a new client or a new Magellan Network member. Joe, what do I need to do to double my business? Or what do I need to do to grow by 50%? Or what do I need to do to bring in X amount of dollars a year? I say, wrong question. Wrong question. Who do you need to become to do it is the right question. And it's like an epiphany. Because what they've been trying to do is modify behavior without modifying identity. It will not last. And this is what most human beings do. Right? You go to a conference, you go to a Barron's conference or a Schwab conference or whatever, and you hear these speakers, and here's what I do, and here's what I do, and here's what I do, and here's what I do. Great. And then you go, oh man, I'm just going to go do that. Right? And sometimes your identity is close enough that you can actually execute it, but that's in the vast minority. In the vast majority of times, it's short term. And it never feels good. It's always like you're fighting it. And the reason why you're fighting it is because you didn't become it. And this is one of these things when, I was reading the book, and by the way, I read it once, I audibled it, and then I took it with me to Italy. And there's a nice, cool post on LinkedIn for me when I had this epiphany about my game. And it's like, we're all evolving. it's like we're not. So in other words, so here's kind of my between the bonus thing. You already know how to evolve. You've been evolving your entire life. You're not the same human being you were at 15, 21, 25. I don't care, pick a number, right? From that, you're not the same human being. Your cells regenerate. I think every 70 days, 100% of our cells regenerate. So I think I heard that from somebody. So we're always changing. We're always evolving, right? We're getting chronologically older. We're getting healthier or unhealthier, depending on we're either richer or poor, depending on the moment. Like evolution happens. So the epiphany here is you don't need a new skill set. You need a guide. You need to understand that you can, with intention, evolve into that next future 10x self because you've already done it. And that was really cool. The other reason why I think that being an advisor is a great platform from 10x is you already have two things that most human beings want: time, freedom, and economic abundance. Now, what do I mean by that? Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. Depending how you build your practice, you can have almost an unlimited amount of downtime. Why do I say that? Because I have clients who practice it. So it's not a theoretical thing. One of the things I really enjoy doing with clients is having them work on their strategic calendar. And again, this would probably not be appropriate for like new advisors. But if you're running your own game, 12 to 16 weeks a year, renewal time, rejuvenation time, rest, recovery, sabbatical, right? I mean, if you're going to play this game for the long term, and what do I mean by the long term? I mean for decades. Like, quick sidebar story. Often I get advisors come to me in their let's say late 50s, maybe early 60s. And they'll come to me to engage with me to be their coach because, Joe, I want to work with you for a while. I want to get organized. I want to get my business really, I want to get back in growth mode or grow a little bit faster so that when I decide to retire in the next 2 or 3 years, right, or 4 years, economically it'd be to my advantage. And I said, sure, man. Hey, whatever you want to do. Again, assume you get through my protocols and my evaluation process. I said, sure, no problem. And I would say probably 80 to 90% of the time when we get into it, we build a 10-year, and it's funny because I say, oh, we're going to build a 10-year vision. He goes, well, I don't need a 10-year. I'm just going to be here for another 4 or 5. I know, but let's just play it out for 10 years, see what happens, right? And 80 to 90% of them, when we build it out and we figure out how much downtime they want, and we find a way, whether because we need to improve the staff or get new staff or totally revamp their game, right? Totally 10x their game. Is there a place now where they have economic abundance? They have time freedom because their identity now is different. And, they're no longer the shopkeeper. And the best part is they still own their asset. They didn't sell it, they didn't monetize it. I think a lot of advisors, and I was talking to a couple of my clients who are really building large scale enterprise level RIAs. If you're watching and listening to me and you're like in that kind of R zone, right? Retirement. I don't think a lot of you want to retire. I think there's a part of you that wants to retire, but I think there's a bigger part of you who just wants to shift. Like, hey, I want to downshift. I want to have more free time. I want to go do bucket list stuff. I don't want to get out of the game. You're only thinking 2X, which is, well, this is the game. I can play around with it a little bit, but it's not going to give me what I want. Therefore, I've got to punch out of here. And you'll think about it. And you may even put your practice up on, one of these sites and, talk to people and stuff like that. And then somebody gives you an offer and it's a good offer and then you get freaked out. Like you go, oh, man, do I really want to do this? And your reality is you don't because you lose your identity with it. So ultimately what it boils down to, hey, instead of maybe selling the thing, maybe we want to think about how do we need to change it, build it, shift it so that it really, really, really serves you. See, that's a 10X move, right? Where you have the asset for another 5 years, 10 years, 50, whatever, right? I mean, I've got clients that are in their 70s, own their practice. Our chairman, CEO, rainmaker, they do very few reviews, only if they want to. The team serves the clients. We have the assets. Everybody's well compensated. We're growing the game in our 70s. What do you think about that? We're growing our game in our 70s. We're going on vacations. We're going to Italy. We're going to Africa. We're going having your cake and eat it too. And that's what I'm saying. Like if there's one book that you all need to really kind of embrace this book 10X is easier than 2X. Now, the word easy is, with all deference to Dan and Ben on this, it ain't easy. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of being uncomfortable. It's about leaving your past behind. It's about leaving your identity behind, creating a new identity. It's different. But the reward is so great. And I think that's part of it. It's not about, and I think this is where advisors really get kind of caught up. They try to be all things to all people. Like, why not just be the best at who deserves you, right? Like, I've been really thinking hard about, segmentation. Why are we running like 3 or 4 businesses? We have our AAA business or our platinum business, then we have our gold or AA business, then we have our silver and like A business. Like, why do we have 3 businesses? Why don't we just have one business? We do the best job with that car, with that avatar, right? With that ideal client. Like, why do we have to be all things to all people? And I was talking to some of my clients the other day, and I reminded them. I said, look, what you never want to do is have the clients dictate the business to you. Like, in other words, we want to be client-centric. We want to be in a collaborative partnership with our clients, but we can never let the client dictate the business to us. We cannot build a business where it just serves the client. The reality is that we may not be well served, that we may not be where we need to be. And that could be a real challenge. So I just think there's some really, and to me it was so profound, like less is more. Like, it's about streamlining, simplification. It's not a concept, it's a strong stride called 80-20. That understand what the 20% of your core / unique ability is. And the other 80%, dump it, delegate it, get rid of it. And I know somebody said, Joey, but I have nobody to delegate. I don't have the financial resource. I understand that. Fine, I'll buy that for a second. But put a game plan together for it. And remember, what is in your 80% is somebody's 20%. So it's always a way to delegate. We are sitting, I want to impress upon you before we wrap up this episode today. I want to impress upon you the absolute gift that you have being in this game. That I wish we can get more young people to come play. I was talking to somebody, oh my gosh, probably a couple weeks ago. And we were just talking about the industry. And I go, I want you to think about this for a second. I said, why is this a good place for a young person to come in? First off, depending on how you want to come in, right, you can have your own business, right? And so let's talk about having our own business for a second. Unlike a franchise, so let's just say, hey, we want to be an entrepreneur. So, and this is what I tell anybody. By the way, if you have children, adult children, or family members or friends, you may want to forward this piece to them. So let's just say if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, wants to be a business owner. Okay, great. Well, let's go get in business. What do we want to do? We want to open up a restaurant, 80+% failure rate there. Plus, you have to come up with capital, right? Well, let's buy a franchise. Okay, great. Less failure rate. Still requires a lot of capital. SBA loans, right? Going into debt, things like that. In our game, we'll pay you to be the entrepreneur. You don't have to go into debt. You don't have to take out a $250,000 SBA loan. Like, you can literally get started by getting licensed, selecting the environment very carefully and the culture very carefully. And within, 5 years, maybe less, have $1 million top line enterprise. Within 10 years, have a $3 to $5 million top line enterprise, which may be worth, $20, $30 million. Without having to sell a kidney? Like, where do you find that? Show me. And now, since the pandemic, I don't know if we even need office space anymore. We do the whole damn thing virtually. So talk about low overhead. Man, I don't need office space. Show me another profession that does that. Show me another platform where you can really 10X this thing and really create anything you want. And therein lies the rub. Knowing what you want. I mean, how many of you don't have written goals, written business plan? You only know where you want to be next year. Now, with that said, all skill sets can be developed. All skill sets. So if you're not a good goal setter, you can become a great goal setter. It's called practice. It's called doing the work. I mean, just think about the gifts that we have here. And then I'm really going to get out of here, getting on to really almost like a little soapbox here. Over the next 5 years, we're going to have the bow wave of boomers retiring. the bow wave of business owners selling their businesses, the bow wave of advisors leaving the business because of death or retirement. Like, if you can't see what I'm seeing, here we are, 2023, right? September 2023. If you hang in this game and play like I'm asking you to play, like you're capable of playing, by 2030, whatever you want, you can have. And I truly believe that. And it doesn't mean you have to, build this massive enterprise. I'm not saying that. Remember, there's 3 models, right? There's the lifestyle model, the ensemble model, the enterprise model. I do not look at success in like this versus that. They all, you're successful in the model. Some of you may just want to have a really uber profitable, sustainable lifestyle model. And that's totally cool. I've got clients to do that, $700,000 to $1.1, $1.2 million, literally from their house. Virtual. Great game. Show me a lawyer doctor who can do it. I got clients that run ensembles, $3, $4, $5 million, lots of downtime, scalable, multi-locational, virtual. Totally cool. Then I have my enterprise people who will build that $5 to $10 to $15 million enterprise, which is really running a big show. They're not even advisors anymore. They're really CEO, leader, rainmaker. They hardly, most of those advisors don't even do reviews. They have people for that. Point I'm driving, guess what? Show me another platform we can do this. Show it. I'm not recruiting. I'm not a recruiter. I've just been coaching this game for 30 years. And I'm telling you, our golden age is just about to begin. So hang on, get some vision, get excited. Yes, there'll be bumps. Yes, there'll be black swans. Yes, there'll be adversity. That's part of life. If I'm you, I get up every day grateful that either I picked this game or this game picked me. Now, the goal is to be your best at it. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Go get the book, 10X is easier than 2X. And I'll see you on our next episode.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.